The sun hung low over the rolling fields, painting the wheat gold under an endless sky. In the village of Eldon, where stone cottages huddled like old friends, life moved slow, predictable, bound by the rhythm of seasons. Jaron, barely 20, stood at the edge of his family's farm, calloused hands gripping a worn hoe. His dark hair fell across his brow, damp with sweat, as he worked the stubborn earth. Another day, another row, another year of the same. His heart, though stirred with something else, a restlessness, a whisper of something beyond the horizon. The village was home, but it felt small, like a coat he'd outgrown. His mother's songs spoke of heroes, of far-off lands where mountains touched the stars, but here the only adventure was chasing stray goats. He paused, wiping his brow, and squinted toward the forest at the field's edge. The trees stood tall, their shadows long and unyielding. Eldon folk called it the Old Wood, a place of stories' ghosts, they said, or worse. Jaron's sister Lila swore she'd seen lights dancing there once, but she was young, full of fancies. He smirked, shaking his head, and turned back to the soil. The day was fading, and there was work to finish before supper. A glint caught his eye, half buried in the dirt. Not a stone, not a roots, something metal, winking in the sunlight. Jaron knelt, brushing away clods of earth, his fingers closed, around something cold, smooth, and oddly heavy. He pulled it free, a disc, no bigger than his palm, carved with symbols that seemed to shift when he tilted it. A faint hum pulsed through his hand, like a heartbeat, faint but alive. His breath caught. This wasn't some farmer's lost trinket. It was something else, Jaron. Lila's voice cut through the quiet, sharp and bright. She bounded across the field, her braid bouncing, her bare feet kicking up dust. Ma says supper's ready. You deaf or just lazy? She stopped, eyes locking on the disc in his hand. What's that? Don't know, Jaron said, turning it over. The symbols gleamed, almost glowing now. Found it in the dirt. Lila's eyes widened, her voice dropping to a whisper. It's from the old wood, isn't it, like in the stories? Don't be daft, Jaron said, but his voice lacked conviction. The disc felt warm now, heavier somehow. He slipped it into his pocket, the hum fading, but not gone. Come on, let's get back. The cottage smelled of bread and stew, a warmth that usually settled Jaron's restless heart. Tonight, though, his thoughts stayed on the disc, tucked against his hip. His mother, Mara, stirred the pot, her face lined with years of work and worry. Lila chattered about the harvest festival, but Jaron barely listened. He ate in silence, the discs weighed a secret he wasn't ready to share. Night fell, and the village grew still. Jaron lay on his straw mattress, staring at the ceiling beams. The disc sat on the table beside him, catching moonlight through the window. He reached for it, tracing the symbols with a finger. They seemed to move, curling like smoke, though he couldn't be sure. Sleep wouldn't come. The hum was back, louder now, thrumming in his chest. He sat up, heart racing. Why? Was this thing? A sound broke the silence, a low creak, not the house settling, but deliberate. Footsteps. Jaron froze, clutching the disc. The door to the cottage groaned open, and a shadow slipped inside. Not Lila, not Mara. A figure cloaked, moving with purpose. Jaron's breath hitched. He slid from the bed, silent, and pressed himself against the wall. The figure moved toward the table, hands outstretched. Jaron's pulse pounded. They were after the disc. He didn't know how he knew, but he felt it, as sure as the hum in his bones. He stepped forward, voice low. Who are you? The figure spun, a blade flashing in the moonlight. Jaron dove, tackling them to the floor. The disc clattered free, skidding across the wood. A man's voice hissed. Give it to me, boy. Jaron scrambled for the disc, his hand closing around it just as the man lunged. Pain seared his arm, a shallow cut, but enough to draw blood. Mara's shout filled the room, a lantern flaring to life. The cloaked man cursed, bolting for the door. Jaron staggered to his feet, the disc clutched tight, blood dripping to the floor. Lila stood wide-eyed, clutching a broom like a weapon. Mara rushed to Jaron, her hand shaking as she checked his wound. What is that thing? She whispered, staring at the disc. I don't know, Duran said, his voice steady, despite the fear. But someone wants it bad. Morning brought no answers. The village buzzed with talk of the stranger, but he'd vanished into the old wood. Jaren's arm stung, bound in cloth, but the disc burned brighter in his thoughts. Mara sat him down, her eyes searching his. That's no trinket, she said. I've heard stories, old ones, from before the village was built. Things buried, things best left alone. Jaren turned the disc over, its symbols glowing faintly, even in daylight. What do I do with it? Mara's voice was firm. Take it to Eldon's elder Torah. She knows the old ways. But be careful, Jaren. Whoever came last night, they'll come again. The walk to Torah's hut felt longer than it should. The old wood loomed to his left, its shadows whispering. Jaren's hand stayed on the disc, now hidden under his shirt. Torah's hut sat at the village's edge, half swallowed by vines. She was ancient, her eyes sharp as flint despite her years. Jaren showed her the disc, and her breath caught. Where did you find this? She asked, her voice low. In the field, Jaren said. What is it? Torah's fingers traced the symbols, her face grim. This is old, older than Eldon, older than the kings. It's a key, Jaren, to something dangerous, something sealed away. She met his eyes. You've woken something. It's the one who came last night. They're only the first. Jaren's stomach twisted. What do I do? Torah handed the disc back, her voice steady. You can't stay here. Take it to the city of Varen, beyond the old wood. Find the scholars' hall. They'll know what it is and how to stop what's coming. Jaren nodded, though his heart sank. Varen was days away, through lands he'd only heard of in songs. He thought of Lila, of Mara, of the life he'd known. Could he leave it all? The disc hummed, warm against his skin, as if answering. He left. At dawn, a pack slung over his shoulder, the disc hidden close. Lila hugged him fierce, her eyes wet. Mara pressed a knife into his hand, her voice breaking. Come back, Jaren. The old wood waited, its shadows deeper than before. Jaren took a breath and stepped forward. The disc's hum his only guide. Whatever lay ahead, there was no turning back. Jaren's boots crunched on the gravel path as he left Eldon behind, the village shrinking into the dawn's haze. The disc hung heavy against his chest, tucked beneath his shirt, its faint hum, a constant companion. The old wood loomed ahead, its gnarled trees clawing at the sky, their shadows thick with secrets. Mara's words echoed in his mind, come back. Jaren, but the weight of Torah's warning pressed harder. The Scholars' Hall in Varen was his destination, days away through lands he'd only heard in songs. His hand rested on the knife at his belt, a cold comfort against the unknown. The air felt charged like the moment before a storm, and Jaren's heart beat faster than the rhythm of his steps. The path wound closer to the old wood, where the light seemed to falter. Jaren had heard the stories, lights in the trees, voices in the wind. A boy, he dared to step inside once, chasing Leela's wild tales. But the silence had driven him back, and now there was no turning back. The disc's hum grew sharper, almost urgent, as he neared the forest's edge. He paused, scanning the trees. A flicker of movement caught his eye, a figure, half hidden among the trunks. Not the cloaked stranger from last night, but someone else, their silhouette lean and deliberate. Who's there? Jaren called, his voice steadier than he felt. The figure stepped forward, a man no older than Jaren, with sharp eyes and a traveler's cloak dusted with road dirt. Staff rested in his hand, its tip carved with runes that glinted faintly. No need for the knife. Friend, the man said, his voice light but measured. I'm just passing through. Name's Callan. He tilted his head, studying Jaren. You're a long way from home for a farmer. Jaren's grip on the knife didn't loosen. What do you want? Callan grinned, unbothered. Same as you. I'd wager answers. That path you're on it leads to Varen, doesn't it? Not a road to walk alone, not with the shadows stirring. Jaren frowned. What do you know about shadows? More than most, Callan said, his grin fading. I've traveled these lands, heard the old tales. The old woods waking, they say. Something's been stirred up, something old. His eyes flicked to Jaren's chest, where the disc was hidden. Jaren's hand twitched toward the disc, his pulse quickening. You're wrong. Callan stepped closer, his staff tapping the ground. I saw you leave, Eldon. Saw the way you kept looking back. You're carrying something, and it's not just a farmer's worries. He leaned in, voice low. I know a relic's hum when I feel it. Jaron stepped back, the disc's warmth flaring against his skin. Stay back or easy, Callan said, raising his hands. I'm no thief, but you're walking into trouble you don't understand. The old wood isn't kind to lone travelers, and whatever you've got, it's drawing eyes. Jaren's mind raced. Tora had warned of others coming for the disc, but Callan didn't feel like the cloaked stranger. There was no malice in his eyes, only a knowing glint, like he'd seen too much for his years. Why should I trust you? Jaren asked. You shouldn't, Callan said plainly. But I know the way to Varen, and I know what hunts in these woods. Walk with me, or don't. Your choice. Jaren hesitated. The disc's hum pulsed, almost in rhythm with his heartbeat. He could go alone, but Callan's words rang truth. Old wood felt alive. Watching fine, he said at last. But I'm watching you, Callan chuckled. Fair enough. They walked together, the forest closing around them. The air grew heavy, the sunlight dimming under a canopy of twisted branches. Callan moved with ease, his staff tapping a steady rhythm. He spoke of the road of Varen's aspires and the scholar's hall, but his stories turned older, stranger. Long ago, he said, before the kings, before the villages, there was a war, not of swords, but of power, power sealed away, locked. In relics like the one you're hiding, Jaren's steps faltered. How do you know what I'm carrying? Callan's eyes gleamed. I've seen one before. Not yours, but something like it. A shard of the old world tied to forces most have forgotten. They called it the Great Binding, when the ancients locked away what they couldn't control. But locks break, Jaren. Jaren's throat tightened. How do you know my name? Okay. Eldon's a small place, Callan said, dodging the question. Word travels, so does trouble. The forest grew darker, the path narrowing. Jaren's hand stayed near his knife. The discs hum a steady pulse. Callan's stories stirred something in him, fear, but also curiosity. Was the disc truly a key, as Tora said? And what did it unlock? He wanted to ask more, but a rustle in the trees stopped him cold. Callan froze, his staff raised. Get down, Callan hissed. Jaren dropped to a crouch, heart pounding. Shadows moved. In the underbrushman, 3 of them, their cloaks blending with the trees. Not the same stranger from Eldon, but their eyes held the same hunger. Bandits, or something worse. One held a short blade, another a bow, the third a club studded. With iron, handed over, the bowman growled, his arrow trained on Jaren. We know what you've got. Jaren's hand closed around the disc, its hum now a sharp buzz. You're not getting it. Callan stepped forward, his staff spinning. Walk away, friends. This doesn't end well for you. The club wielder laughed, but it was cut short. Callan moved like wind, his staff cracking against the man's wrist. The club fell, and the fight erupted. Jaren ducked an arrow, his knife flashing as he lunged at the bowman. The man sidestepped, but Jaren tackled him, driving him to the ground. Pain exploded in his shoulder as the third man's blade grazed him. Callan's staff whirled, knocking the swordsman back, but the club wielder was up. Charging, Jaren rolled free, his knife slashing, blood sprayed, and the bowman screamed, clutching his arm. Callan's staff met the club with a crack, and the bandit staggered. Jaren scrambled to his feet, the disc burning hot against his chest. The swordsman lunged again, but Callan's runes flared, a pulse of light sending the man sprawling. Run, Callan shouted. Jaren didn't argue. They sprinted down the path, branches tearing at their clothes. The bandit's shouts faded, but Jaren's heart didn't slow. Blood seeped from his shoulder, the pain sharp but distant. The disc's hum was a roar now, vibrating in his bones. They stopped in a clearing, gasping for breath. "Your trouble," Callan said, half laughing, half wincing, as he checked a cut on his arm. "Told you the woods aren't kind." Jaren clutched the disc, its warmth steadying him. They knew about it. How? Callan's eyes darkened. "Relics call to those who seek them. You're marked now, Jaren. Wherever you go, they'll follow." Jaren's stomach twisted. "Who are they?" "Not just bandits," Callan said. "Servants of something older. The great binding's breaking, and your disc is part of it." He met Jaren's gaze. "You're not just carrying a relic, you're carrying a war." The words hung heavy in the clearing. Jaren's shoulder throbbed, but the disc's hum felt like a promisor, a warning. Varen was still days away, and the old woods stretched endlessly before them. Callan offered a nod, his staff ready. "Keep moving or we're dead." Jaren gripped his knife, the disc's weight anchoring him. The path to Varen was no longer just a journey. It was a fight, and he was only beginning to understand the stakes. The town of Cresthaven appeared through the thinning trees, its wooden palisade worn but sturdy, smoke curling from chimneys into the dusk. Jaren's shoulder ached, the bandage Callan had tied after their fight in the old wood stiff with dried blood. The disc thrummed against his chest, its warmth a constant reminder of the danger trailing them. Callan walked ahead, his staff tapping. The dirt path, his eyes scanning the horizon like a hawk. The forest's weight lingered behind them, its shadows whispering of the banditsor. Whatever they were who'd known about the disc. Jaren's grip tightened on his knife, the blade. A small anchor in a world growing stranger by the hour. Cresthaven's gates creaked open. The guards' bored gaze barely lingering on them. Inside, the town bustled with evening life merchants packing up stalls. Children darting through muddy streets, the clink of mugs from a tavern. Jaren's stomach growled. He hadn't eaten since Eldon. Callan nodded toward the tavern's glow. "Food and a bed," he said. "Then we talk about what's next." The tavern, called the Rusty Anchor, smelled of ale and roasted meat. Jaren followed Callan to a corner table, the disc's hum muffled but persistent. Faces turned their way, curious, wary, or indifferent. Jaren felt exposed, like the disc was a beacon drawing every eye. He sank into the chair, keeping his cloak tight. Callan ordered stew and bread, his easy grin disarming the serving girl. But Jaren noticed his hand never strayed far from his staff. "You said they weren't just bandits," Jaren said, voice low. "What did you mean?" Callan leaned forward, his eyes sharp. "Those men in the woods, they weren't after coin. They were hunting. It's the disc you're carrying. It's not just old. It's tied to something alive, something that wants to be found." He paused as the serving girl set down steaming bowls, then continued. "That could break the world. Your disc is a piece of that, and it's waking up." Jaren's spoon froze halfway to his mouth. "Waking up? It's a piece of metal." "Is it?" Callan's voice was soft but heavy. "Feel it, Jaren. It's not just humming. It's calling." Hand drifted to the disc, its warmth pulsing like a second heartbeat. He wanted to argue, but the memory of the bandit's eyes cold, certain, hungry stopped him. "Who's it calling to?" he asked. "People like them," Callan said. "People who serve what was bound. And others, maybe, who want to use it." He leaned back, sipping his ale. "The Scholars' Hall in Varen will know more, but getting there won't be easy." Jaren's jaw tightened. "Why are you helping me?" "What's in it for you?" Callan's grin returned, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Let's just say I've got my own reasons to see this through, call it curiosity or a debt to pay," before Jaren could press. Further, a shadow fell over the table. A woman stood there, her cloak patched but clean, her hair braided tight. Her eyes, green as the old wood, locked on Jaren. "You're the one from Eldon," she said, not a question. "The one with the relic." Jaren's heart lurched, glanced at Callan, who tensed, his hand sliding to his staff. "Who are you?" Jaren asked, his voice steady despite the disc's sudden heat. "Name's Sela," she said, pulling up a chair without asking. "I heard whispers in the market trouble in Eldon. A boy with something old, something dangerous. and she leaned in, her voice low. You're not subtle, carrying that power around. Jaren's hand hovered near his knife. What do you want? Same as you, Scylla said. To keep it out of the wrong hands. I know the old wood, the roads to Varen. I can help you get there alive. Callan snorted. And why should we trust you? You're awfully quick to know. Our business. Scylla's eyes flicked to him, unflinching. Because I've seen what hunts relics. My brother, she stopped, her jaw tight. He carried one once, didn't end well. Jaren studied her, the discs hummed sharp against his. Skin, her grief felt real, but Callan's warning about trust echoed in his mind. Why us? He asked. Why now? Scylla's gaze didn't waver. Because the woods are stirring. You felt it, didn't you? The eyes, the shadows, they're coming for you, and you're not ready. A shout broke the tension a crash from the tavern's entrance. 3 men burst in, their cloaks dark, their eyes scanning the room. Jaren's blood ran cold. The same hunger as the bandits, the same purpose. The disc burned, its hum a scream in his chest. Callan was on his feet, staff ready. Scylla's hand slipped to a dagger at her belt. They found you, Scylla whispered. Move now. Jaren scrambled up, the tavern erupting into chaos as patrons shouted and tables overturned. The 3 men pushed through, blades drawn. Shoved Jaron toward the back door. Go, he barked. Scylla was already moving, her dagger glinting as she blocked the path of the nearest man. Blade met hers, sparks flying. Jaren stumbled into the alley, the discs hummed deafening. Callan was behind him, staff swinging to block a thrown knife. Scylla followed, blood on her cheek but her eyes fierce. This way she hissed, leading them into Cresthaven's maze of streets. The men's shouts echoed, too close. They ducked. Into a narrow lane, crouching behind barrels. Aaron's breath came in gasps, the discs heat searing. How do they keep finding me? He whispered. Scylla's eyes were grim. The relic's awake. It's like a fire in the dark, anyone looking can see it. She glanced at Callan. You know it too, Wanderer. Don't pretend you don't. Callan's jaw tightened, but he didn't. Argue, we need to move. Varen's still 3 days off, and Cresthaven's not safe anymore. Grew closer, boots pounding on cobblestones. No time to decide. Scylla led them through alleys, her steps sure. They reached the town's edge, where the palisade met open fields. The old wood loomed in the distance, darker now under a rising moon. We cut through the fields, Scylla said. The scholarship essay help, essay writing service by essay pro scholarship essay writing help service. The old wood's too dangerous at night. Jaren's heart sank. The disc's hum felt like a warning, urging him forward. He looked at Callan, who nodded slightly, his staff ready. She's right, Callan said. We move fast, stay low. They ran, the grass swallowing their steps. The shouts faded, but Jaren felt eyes in the dark. The disc pulsed, alive, as if it knew what hunted them. Cresthaven's lights vanished behind them, and the old wood waited ahead, its shadows alive with secrets. Ow! Jaren's shoulder burned, his knife heavy in his hand. Varen felt a lifetime away, and the disc's hum promised no peace. The fields stretched wide under the moon's pale light, their grasses swaying like a restless sea. Jaren's breath burned in his chest, each step a jolt of pain through his wounded shoulder. The disc thrummed against his skin, its heat a steady pulse, urging him onward. Callan ran beside him, his staff a silent shadow in the dark, while Scylla led the way, her braids swinging as she scanned the horizon. Cresthaven's lights were gone now, swallowed by the night, but the echo of their pursuers' shouts lingered in Jaren's mind. The old wood loomed closer, its trees black against the sky, whispering secrets he wasn't ready to hear. The discs, whom grew sharper, almost a voice, and Jaren's grip tightened on his knife. The blade a frail shield against the unknown. Scylla slowed, raising a hand. Here she whispered, pointing to a cluster of rocks half hidden in the grass. Rest a moment, they're not close, but they're not gone. Jaren crouched behind the rocks, his heart pounding. The disc's warmth spread through him, chasing the chill of the night. Callan knelt beside him, his eyes on the fields they'd crossed. They're tracking the relic, he said, voice low. Scylla's right's like a beacon. Can't hide it, not while it's awake. Jaren's jaw clenched. Then why give it to me? Tora said to take it to Varen, not to. He stopped, the disk's hum spiking, a sharp sting against his chest. He pulled it out, its symbols glowing faintly, curling like smoke in the moonlight. What is this thing doing? Scylla's eyes narrowed as she leaned closer. It's reacting. To you, to them, to something. She glanced at Callan. You've seen one before, haven't you? Tell him. Callan's face tightened, his fingers gripping his staff. Not now, Scylla. Then when? She snapped. He's carrying a war in his hands, and you're playing cryptic. He deserves to know. Jaren's gaze flicked between them. Know what? Callan exhaled, his voice low. The relics aren't just keys. They're alive, in a way. Tied to the great binding, yes, but also to those who carry them. Your blood, Jarnit's waking the disk. That's why they're coming for you. Jaren's stomach twisted. My blood. I'm a farmer, not some, he faltered. Tora's. Words echoing, you've woken something. What am I part of? Scylla cut in, her voice sharp but not unkind. You're not just a farmer anymore. The disk chose you, or your blood did. My brother, she stopped, her eyes distant. He carried a relic once. It changed him, drew things to him. Hunters, like the ones after you? Jaren's hand closed. Around the disk, its heat almost burning. What happened to him? Scylla's jaw tightened. He didn't make it. She looked away, her voice softening. But you might, if you're smart. A rustle in the grass snapped their attention. Callan's staff rose, Scylla's dagger glinted. Jaren's heart leaped as shapes moved in the dark, not men, but something else. Low, sleek, their eyes glinting like coals. Wolves, but wrong. Their forms too large, their movements too deliberate. The disk's hum turned shrill, a warning Jaren. Felt in his bones? Old wood beasts? Scylla hissed. They're drawn to it too. Callan stepped forward, his staff's runes flaring faintly. Stay behind me. The first beast lunged, its jaws wide, teeth like knives. Callan's staff cracked against its skull, sending it sprawling, but another leaped from the side. Jaren swung his knife, catching its flank. The beast howled, a sound that shook the air, and Jaren stumbled back, blood slick on his blade. Scylla moved like a shadow, her dagger sinking into another's neck. The pack circled, 5 or 6, their eyes locked on Jaren. It's the disk, Callan shouted, blocking a snap of jaws. They want it, Jaren's hand shook as he clutched. The disk, its glow bright now, casting eerie light on the rocks. He didn't think, Jess ran, dodging a lunging beast, Callan and Scylla at his heels. The fields gave way to the old wood's edge, its trees swallowing the moonlight. The beasts followed, their growls a chorus of hunger. Jaren's shoulders screamed with pain, but the disk's hum drove him forward, into the forest. Branches clawed at his face, roots snagging his feet. The beasts were close, their breath hot on the air. Scylla grabbed his arm, pulling him toward a ravine. Down here, she yelled. They slid down the slope, dirt and leaves cascading around them. The beasts hesitated at the edge, their eyes glowing, then turned back, melting into the dark. Jaren collapsed against a tree, gasping. The disk's glow faded, its hum softening. Callan leaned on his staff, breathing hard, a gash on his cheek. Scylla wiped her dagger, her face grim. They'll be back, she said. The old wood's alive with them. Jaren's voice was hoarse. Why me? Why this thing? Callan met his eyes, his voice steady. Because you're tied to it, Jaren. The great binding wasn't just a spell, it was a pact. Your blood, your family, they're part of it. The disk knows you. Jaren's mind reeled. Mara's stories, Tora's warnings, had they known? He thought of Eldon, of Leela's laughter, of home. It felt a world away. What do I do? He asked, almost to himself. Scylla crouched beside him, her voice firm. You keep going, Franz. 2 days off. The Scholars' Hall has answers, may be the only ones that can stop this. Callan nodded. But we need to move smarter. The disk's waking things, beasts, hunters, worse. We stick to the edges of the wood, avoid open paths. Jaren's hand tightened on the disk. And if they find us again? Sela's eyes were hard. We fight, or we die. The ravine was quiet now, the night heavy with the wood's presence. Jaren stood, the discs hum a faint pulse again. Callan and Scylla flanked him, their faces set. The path to Varen stretched ahead through shadows that watched and waited. Jaren took a step, then another. The disc's warmth his only guide. Whatever this relic was, whatever it meant. He was in it now deeper than he'd ever imagined. The old wood shadows clung to Jaren like damp cloth, the air thick with the scent of moss and decay. Moonlight barely pierced the canopy, casting jagged patches of light on the ravine's floor. The disc pulsed against his chest, its hum softer now, but never silent, a restless heartbeat urging him forward. His shoulder throbbed, the wound from Cresthaven stiff beneath Callan's rough bandage. Scylla moved ahead, her dagger glinting as she scanned the trees, her steps silent despite the underbrush. Callan followed close, his staff tapping softly. Its runes dim but ready. The beast's growls had faded, but Jaren felt their eyes, or something else's, watching from the dark. The disc's warmth was both comfort and warning, tying him to a path he couldn't unchoose. Scylla paused, crouching near a gnarled root. Tracks, she whispered, pointing to faint claw marks in the dirt. Not the beast's, something human. Passed here not long ago. Her green eyes flicked to Jaren. Your hunters aren't giving up. Jaren's stomach churned. The disc's hum spiked, a sharp tug that made him wince. How do they keep finding me? He asked, voice low. Callan's face was grim, half lit by moonlight. The disc's awake. Jaren, it's not just calling to you, it's shouting to anyone who knows how to listen.
Otters.
Beasts, maybe worse. He glanced at Scylla. You said your brother carried a relic. Did it do this? Scylla's jaw tightened, her fingers brushing her dagger's hilt. It sang to him, too. Drew things, people, creatures, shadows. He thought he could control it. Her voice cracked, just for a moment. He was wrong. Jaren's hand hovered over the disc, its heat seeping through his shirt. Control it? Can it be controlled? Scylla's eyes met his, hard but not unkind. Maybe. The scholars in Varen might know. But you've got to get there first. Twigs snapped, sharp in the silence. Callan's staff rose, Scylla's dagger flashed. Jaren's heart leaped, his knife already in hand. A figure stepped from the trees, not a hunter, not a beast, but a girl, no older than Lila. Her clothes tattered, her eyes wide with fear. Don't hurt me, she whispered, hands raised. I'm not with them. Who's them? Lila demanded, her dagger steady. The girl's voice trembled. The cloaked ones. They came through, asking about a boy with a glowing disc. I ran, but they're close. Her eyes locked on Jaren, as if she could see the relic through his cloak. It's you, isn't it? Jaren's throat tightened. The disc's hum surged, hot against his skin. How do you know? I felt it, the girl said, her voice barely audible. In the air, like a storm coming. It's why I hid. Callan stepped closer, his staff lowered but ready. What's your name, girl? Gale, she said, her gaze darting between. Them, I'm from Cresthaven. I know the paths through the wood. I can help you if you let me. Scylla snorted. Another stray? They were collecting trouble like flies. Jaren nodded, his mind racing. The disc felt heavier, its hum a pull he couldn't ignore. Scylla's story about her brother, Callan's cryptic debt, could he trust either of them? The shouts Jaren studied Kale, her small frame trembling, but her eyes steady. Something about her felt familiar, like Lila's stubborn spark. Why help us? He asked. Kale's voice was fierce despite her fear. Because those cloaked ones burned my home. They're after something. And if it's that, disc, I want them to lose. Callan exchanged a look with Scylla, then nodded. Fine, but you stay where we can see you. The disc's hum softened, as if approving. Jaren wasn't sure he trusted it tore. Kayla, but the path to Varen felt heavier with every step. They moved on, Kale falling in beside Jaren. Her steps, quick and silent. The wood grew denser, the air colder, the trees twisting into shapes that seemed to watch. Jaren's shoulder burned, but he kept pace. The disk's warmth a steady anchor. Kale spoke softly as they walked, her voice a welcome distraction. "The wood's old," she said. "Older than Cresthaven, older than Varan. My gran used to say it remembers things, wars, promises, blood." She glanced at Jaren. "Your disk kit's part of that, isn't it?" Jaren hesitated, then nodded. "I think so. I don't know what it is. Not really." Kale's eyes softened. "It's heavy, carrying something like that. My gran carried. Secrets, too. Never told me what, but I saw the weight in her eyes." Priscilla glanced back, her voice sharp. "Less talking, more watching. The wood's not safe." As if on cue, the disk's hum flared, a jolt that made Jaren gasp. The trees ahead parted, revealing a clearing bathed in moonlight. At its center stood a stone, tall and jagged, carved with symbols that matched the disks. Jaren froze, the relic's heat searing his chest. "What is that?" he whispered. Callan's runes glowed faintly, his voice tense. "A wardstone. Part of the great binding. It's tied to your disk, maybe. A lock. Maybe a warning." Kale's eyes widened. Gran spoke of these. She said they hold the wood's secrets. Scylla's dagger was out, her gaze scanning the trees, and they draw trouble. "We need to move." Too late. Shadows shifted, and figures emerged. 5. Cloaked hunters, their blades gleaming, their eyes fixed on Jaren. The disk's hum was a scream now, its glow leaking through his shirt. "Give it up, boy," one hunter growled, his voice like gravel. "It's not yours to keep." Knife felt small, useless, but he raised it. Callan's staff spun, runes flaring. Scylla stepped in front of Kale, her dagger ready. "Stay back," she told the girl. Kale nodded, clutching a small knife of her own. The hunters charged. Callan's staff cracked against a blade, sparks flying. Scylla danced between two, her dagger a blur, blood spraying as she struck. Jaren ducked a swing, his knife slicing a hunter's arm. The disk burned, its hum a roar in his ears. He didn't see the sixth hunter until too late a blade arced toward his chest. Kale screamed, shoving him aside, the blade grazing her arm instead. Jaren rolled, scrambling to Kale's side. "You okay?" he gasped. She nodded, wincing blood seeping through her sleeve. "Keep moving." Callan's runes pulsed, a burst of light driving the hunters back. Scylla's dagger found another's throat, and the clearing grew still, the surviving hunters fleeing into the trees. Jaren helped Kale stand, her small frame shaking but resolute. The disk's glow dimmed, its hum calming, as if sated, Slad wiped. Her blade, her voice tight. "That wardstone's no coincidence. The disk led us here." Callan nodded, his eyes on the stone. "It's a marker. The scholars will know what it means. But we're not safe here." Jaren looked at Kale, her blood staining the grass. "You didn't have to do that," he said. Kale's smile was faint. "You're carrying something bigger than you. I get it." She glanced at the wardstone. "But it's not just yours anymore." The disk's hum pulsed, soft but steady. Jaren felt its weight, not just on his chest, but in his bones. Was closer, but the old wood's secrets were deeper, and the hunters were still out there. He nodded to Callan and Scylla, then helped Kale forward. The wardstone loomed behind them, symbols whispering as they vanished into the trees. The old wood pressed closer, its trees twisting into shapes that seemed to shift in the corner of Jaren's eye. The wardstone's glow lingered in his mind. Its symbols burned into memory, matching the disk's restless hum against his chest. His shoulder ached, the wound a dull throb beneath Callan's bandage, but Kale's injury worried him more. She walked beside him, her arm bound with a strip of Scylla's cloak, her face pale but set. The girl's courage shoving him from that hunter's blade gnawed at him, a debt he didn't know how to repay. Callan led the way, his staff sweeping aside branches, while Scylla trailed behind, her dagger glinting as she watched the shadows. The air was thick, heavy with the scent of damp earth, and something sharper, like iron or blood. The disc's hum pulsed, a guide or a warning. Pulling Jaren deeper into the forest's heart, the path was barely a path now, roots snaking across the ground, forcing them to climb and stumble. Moonlight faded, swallowed by the canopy, and Callan's runes cast a faint glow, just enough to see. Jaren's boots sank into soft earth, each step heavier than the last. Kale's breathing was ragged, her steps slowing, but she waved off his. "Concern, I'm fine," she muttered, her voice fierce despite the pain. "Keep going." Scylla's voice cut through the quiet. "We're being followed?" Her eyes were on the trees, where shadows flickered, too deliberate to be wind. Not the hunters, something else. Jaren's hand found his knife, the disc's hum spiking. "Beasts again." Alan shook his head, his staff raised. "Worse. The wood's waking." The wardstone stirred it. His runes flared brighter, revealing a glint in the dark eyes, low and unblinking, circling them. Kale gripped her small knife, her voice steady. "Gran said the wood guards its secrets. Whatever's out there, it's tied to that stone and your disc." Before Jaren could answer, a shape lunged from the shadows, a creature. Not wolf, but something older, its body woven of vines and bone, its eyes like burning embers. The disc screamed, its heat searing Jaren's chest. Callan's staff swung, runes blazing, and the creature recoiled, hissing. Another emerged, then a third, their forms shifting, half plant, half beast. Scylla's dagger flashed, cutting through a vine-like limb, but it regrew, writhing. "Run," Callan shouted, shoving Jaren forward. They sprinted, Kale stumbling, but keeping pace, the creature's hisses filling the air. The disc's hum was a roar now, guiding Jaren's steps, as if it knew the way. Branches tore at his face, his lungs burning, but he didn't stop. Scylla slashed behind them, buying time while Callan's runes pulsed. Holding the creatures back, they burst into a hollow, a sunken bowl of earth ringed by ancient trees. At its center stood another wardstone, taller than the last, its symbols glowing faintly. The disc's hum matched its rhythm, a call and response that shook Jaren's bones. The creatures stopped at the hollow's edge, their eyes locked on the stone, its unwilling or unable to cross. Scylla caught her breath, her dagger still raised. "What is this place?" Callan's voice was low, reverent. "A sanctuary. The wardstones. Mark safe grounds, tied to the great binding. The disc knows it." Jaren approached the stone, the disc's glow brightening, its symbols swirling. He touched it, and a jolt ran through him, images, fleeting and sharp. A war of light and shadow, figures wielding relics, a world breaking. He staggered back, gasping. What was that? Kale's eyes were wide, her voice soft. "Gran said the stones hold memories. The disc it's showing you." Callan nodded, his staff's runes dimming. "The great binding wasn't just a spell, it was a sacrifice. Your disc, these stones, they're pieces of it, and you're waking them." Jaren's hand shook as he clutched the disc. "Waking what?" "Power," Scylla said, her voice hard. "Power that broke the world once. My brother saw it too in his relic. Ah!" It drove him mad. She stepped closer, her eyes searching Jaren's. "You're not him, but you're walking his path. Be careful." The hollow was quiet. The creature's gone, but Jaren felt no peace. The disc's hum was softer now, but its weight grew heavier. He looked at Kale, her arm bloodied, her face defiant. Callan, his secrets hidden behind a wanderer's grin.
"Edits, Scylla."
Her grief a mirror to his fear. "What do I do?" he asked. Callan's voice was steady. "We keep moving. Baranzade. Away. But the wood's not done with us. Scholars will know how to read the disc, the stones." Kale pointed to the wardstone. "There's a path behind it," Kron said. "The stones mark safe trails. We follow it." Scylla's eyes narrowed. "And trust the wood after that?" Jaren's fingers traced the disc's symbols. "We don't have a choice. The disc led us here. It's leading us somewhere." He met their eyes, his voice firm despite the fear. "I'm not stopping." They nodded, silent agreement in the dark. The path behind the wardstone was narrow, barely visible, but the disk's hum pulsed, guiding Jaren's steps. The wood's shadows watched, its secrets alive in every rustle. Kale's small hand brushed his, a fleeting comfort. Callan's runes glowed faintly, Scylla's dagger gleamed. The disk burned against Jaren's chest, its call louder than ever. Varen waited, but the wood's heart was closer. Its truths were not kind. The path from the wardstone twisted deeper into the old wood, its roots curling like fingers beneath Jaren's boots. The disk's hum was a steady pulse, warm against his chest, guiding him through the dark. Moonlight struggled through the canopy, casting fleeting glints on Scylla's dagger and Callan's rune-carved staff. Kale stayed close, her wounded arm stiff, but her steps sure, her small knife clutched tight. The air was heavy, thick with the scent of sap, and something older, like stone worn by time. The wardstone's visions wore, light shadow lingered. In Jaren's mind, each step pulling him closer to truths he wasn't sure he wanted. The wood felt alive, its branches whispering, its shadows shifting just beyond sight. The disk burned hotter, as if it knew what waited ahead. Scylla led now, her eyes scanning the trees, her dagger a constant flicker in her hand. This path's too quiet, she muttered, her voice barely above the rustle of leaves. The wood doesn't let go that easy. Callan's runes glowed faintly, his staff sweeping the underbrush. The wardstone's protection won't last. Whatever's hunting us, it's still out there. Jaren's hand rested on his knife, the disks hum a sharp tug. The hunters or the beasts? He asked, his voice low. Kale's eyes flicked. To the shadows. Both. Gran said the wood guards its relics. But it doesn't like us here. Jaren glanced at her, her pale face half lit by Callan's runes. Your Gran knew a lot for a Cresthaven woman. Kale's smile was faint. She wasn't. From Cresthaven? Came from Varen. Long ago. Said she left to keep secrets safe. Her voice softened. I think she meant things like, your disk. Before Jaren could ask more, the disk flared, a jolt of heat that made him stumble. The path opened into a glade, ringed by trees so ancient their trunks seemed carved from stone. A pool, its water black and still, reflecting no stars. The disk's hum matched the air's pulse, a rhythm that vibrated in Jaren's bones. Symbols like those on the disk and wardstone glowed faintly along the pool's edge. Etched into smooth stones, Callan's staff lowered, his runes dimming. Another marker. This is no ordinary place. Scylla's dagger stayed ready, her eyes on the trees. It's a trap. The wood's playing us. Jaren stepped toward the pool, drawn by the disk's hum. It's not a trap. It's calling. He knelt, the disk glowing brighter, its light dancing on the water. His reflection stared back, but it wasn't alone shadows moved in the pool, figures woven of mist. A woman, her face like Mara's, but older, held a disk like his. A man cloaked wielded a blade of light. They fought, their movements a dance of fire and shadow. Until the woman fell, the disk slipping from her hand, Jaren's breath caught. What is this? Kale knelt beside him, her voice hushed. Gran said the wood holds echoes. The binding. Her eyes were wide, fixed on the pool. That's your disk, isn't it? Callan's voice was tight. It's more than memory. The pool's alive, tied to the relics. It's showing you what was and what might be. Scylla snorted, but her eyes were uneasy. Great, more riddles. Meanwhile, we're sitting ducks. The disk's hum spiked, and the pool rippled. The shadows shifted, showing Gerindaldor, scarred, holding the disk as light poured from it. He stood alone, surrounded by ruins, his face grim. Jaren staggered back, heart pounding. That's me. Before anyone could speak, the trees erupted. Figures burst from the shadows hunters. 6 of them, their cloaks blending with the dark, their blades gleaming. Gosh! The disk screamed, its glow. Lighting the glade, the relic. One hunter snarled, lunging forward. Callan's staff spun, runes flaring, knocking the man back. Scylla's dagger met another's blade, sparks flying. Kale gripped her knife, staying close to Jaren. Stay. By the pool. She shouted, it's safe ground. Jaren's knife flashed, blocking a hunter's strike. The disk burned, its hum a roar, urging him to move. He ducked, slashing at a hunter's leg, blood spraying. Callan's runes pulsed, a wave of light. Scattering to hunters, but more came, their eyes hungry, fixed on the disk. Scylla fought like a storm, her dagger a blur, but a blade grazed her side. She hissed in pain. Kale shoved Jaren toward the pool. Use it, she yelled, her knife slashing at a hunter's arm. The disk gets tied to this place. Jaren's hand closed around the disk, its heat almost unbearable. He thrust it toward the pool, not knowing why, only feeling its pull. The water flared, a burst of light swallowing the glade. The hunters screamed, shielding their eyes, and the shadows in the pool rose. Mist-like figures striking at the cloaked men. The hunters fell, one by one, their blades clattering, their bodies crumpling. The light faded, the pool still again. Jaren's chest heaved, the disk cooling in his hand. Callan leaned on his staff, blood dripping from a cut on his brow. Scylla clutched her side, her face pale but fierce. Kale's arm bled anew, but she stood firm, her eyes on the pool. Was that? Jaren gasped, staring at the disk. Callan's voice was low. The binding's power. You tapped at Jaren. The disk, the pool, they're linked. You're linked. Scylla's laugh was sharp, pained. Linked or cursed. Those hunters won't be the last. Kale touched the pool's edge, her voice soft. Gran said the relics choose their bearers. You didn't just find that disk, Jaren. It found you. Jaren's hand shook, the disk's hum quiet now, almost gentle. The glade was silent, but the wood's shadows waited beyond. The pool's visions of war, of him burned in his mind. Varen was close, but the disk's truths were closer, and they were heavy. He looked at his companions, their wounds, their resolve. We keep going, he said, his voice steady despite the fear. To Varen, 2 answers. Scylla nodded, wiping blood from her dagger. Callan's runes flickered, his eyes grim but sure. Kale's smile was small, fierce. The disk pulsed, a single beat, as they left the glade. The old wood's secrets trailing them like ghosts. The old wood's grip tightened as Jaren and his companions pressed on. The glade's eerie light fading behind them. Against his chest, its warmth a faint echo of the pool's blinding flare. Jaren's hands trembled. The memory of mist-like figures striking down hunters burned into his mind. His shoulder wound throbbed, a dull ache matched by the weight of questions he couldn't voice. Kale walked beside him, her arm bound tightly, her face pale but resolute. Scylla scouted ahead, her dagger ever ready, blood still seeping through the cloth at her side. Callan trailed, his staff's runes dim, his eyes scanning the trees for threats. The air was thick, heavy with the scent of wet bark, and something sharper, like ozone after a storm. The wood felt alive, its branches creaking, shadows curling just out of reach. The path was barely visible, a thread of trampled earth winding through gnarled roots. Moonlight was gone, swallowed by clouds, leaving Callan's faint rune glow. As their only guide, Jaren's boots sank into moss, each step a reminder of how far he was from Eldon's fields. The disk's hum pulsed, steady but insistent, as if it knew where they were headed. Varen was close a day's walk, maybe less. But the wood seemed to stretch time, making every moment feel endless. Kale's voice broke the silence, soft but clear. Gran said the wood tests those who carry its secrets. That pool, those figures, it was protecting you. Jaren, or the disk? Jaren glanced at her, her small frame dwarfed by the towering trees. Protecting me? Or using me? The disk's warmth flared as if answering, and he winced. It's like it's alive. Scylla glanced back, her eyes sharp despite the pain. In her step, it is alive. My brother said his relic spoke to him not words, but feelings. Pushed him places he didn't want to go, her voice hardened. Don't let it control you. Callan's staff tapped a root, his voice low. She's right. The relics are tied to the great binding, but they're not your friends. They have their own will? Jaren's jaw clenched. Then why give it to me? Tora could have kept it, or he stopped, the disk's hum spiking, a sharp tug that made him gasp. The trees parted, revealing a clearing, smaller than the glade, but heavy with the same ancient weight. At its heart stood a circle of stones, low and worn, their surfaces etched with symbols that matched the disks. A faint glow pulsed from them, syncing with the relic's hum. Callan's runes flickered, his face tense. Another marker. The woods full of them, tying the binding together. Kale stepped closer, her eyes wide. Gran called these circles anchors, said they hold the world steady. She looked at Jaren. Your diskit's part of this, isn't it? Jaren approached the stones, the disk burning against his chest. He knelt, tracing a symbol with his finger. It felt warm, alive, and a shiver ran through him. Another vision, fleeting but vivid. A woman, her face like his mother's, sealing a relic into stone, her hands bloodied. A voice not hers whispered, "Keep it hidden." Jaren pulled back, heart pounding. "What did you see?" Sela asked, her dagger still in hand. "Someone sealing a relic," Jaren said, his voice unsteady, like mine, like they were hiding it. Ellen's eyes narrowed. "The binding was a pact, Jaren. Your blood's tied to a Chur family, maybe. That's why the disk chose you." Jaren's mind reeled. Mara's songs, Tora's warnings, had they known his blood carried this burden? He clutched the disk, its hum softening, almost comforting. What does it want from me? Before anyone could answer, the air shifted, a cold gust sweeping the clearing. Shadows moved, not hunters or beasts, but something formless, like smoke given will. The disk screamed, its glow lighting the stones. Kale gasped, gripping her knife. Scylla's dagger rose, her wound forgotten. Callan's runes blazed, his staff ready. Wraith's Callan hissed. The wood's guardians. The disks drawing them. The shadows coalesced, forming figures tall, eyeless, their limbs trailing mist. They drifted toward Jaren, their presence a weight on his chest. The disk's hum was a wail, urging him to act. He raised it, not knowing why, and its glow flared, matching the stones. The wraiths paused, their forms flickering, as if unsure. "Hold it there," Kale shouted, her voice cutting through the hum. "The stone's there. Tied to it?" Jaren's arm shook, the disk's heat searing. The stones glowed brighter, their symbols pulsing in rhythm. The wraiths hissed, a sound like wind through broken glass, and lunged. Lund's staff swung, runes flaring, scattering. One wraith into mist. Scylla's dagger slashed another, but it reformed, its touch grazing her arm, leaving frost on her skin. She cursed, stumbling back. Kale grabbed Jaren's arm, her eyes fierce. "The stones? Use the disk." Jaren pressed the disk to the nearest stone, its heat merging with the glow. A pulse erupted, light flooding the clearing. The wraiths screamed, dissolving into the air, their forms unraveling like smoke. The stones dimmed, the disk's hum fading to a whisper. Jaren collapsed to his knees, gasping, the relic heavy in his hand. Scylla clutched her arm, frost melting from her skin. What in the wood was that? Callan's face was grim, blood trickling from a cut on his hand. "The binding's guardians. They don't like the disk moving." He looked at Jaren. "You're waking things that haven't stirred in centuries." Kale's voice was soft, her eyes on the stones. "Gran said the anchors hold the world's balance. You're unbalancing it, Jaren." Jaren's chest tightened. "I didn't ask for this." The disk felt heavier, its warmth a question he couldn't answer. He looked at his companion's Kale's. Bloodied arm, Scylla's frost-kissed skin, Callan's steady gaze. Baron's close. We keep going, right? Scylla's laugh was sharp, unless you want to stay and chat with more ghosts. Callan nodded, his runes flickering. The wood's testing you, Jaren. The disk's testing you. Varen's your only shot at answers. Kale touched the stones, her face thoughtful. Gran said the scholars know the binding secrets. They'll know what you are. Jaren stood. The disks hum a faint pulse. The clearing was still, but the wood's eyes never left. He led the way now, the path clearer, the disk guiding his steps. Varen's spires waited, but the wood's truths were closer. Wrapping him in shadows he couldn't outrun. The old wood's shadows seemed to breathe as Jaren led the way. The disk's faint hum a guide through the tangled undergrowth. The clearings. Wraiths lingered in his mind, their eyeless forms dissolving into mist, a warning of the power tied to his blood. His shoulder ached, the wound a constant reminder of Cresthaven's hunters, but the disk's warmth pushed him forward.
Ow.
Kale stayed. Close, her small frame tense, her arms bandage stained with fresh blood. Scylla scouted ahead, her dagger catching slivers of dawn breaking through the canopy. Callan trailed, his staff's runes dim but vigilant, his eyes scanning the trees. The air was sharp, heavy with dew, and the faint tang of something ancient, like stones stirred from sleep. The disk pulsed, its rhythm steady, urging Jaren toward. Varen, just hours away. The path widened, the trees thinning as the wood's grip loosened. Jaren's boots crunched on gravel, a sign of a road long unused. The disk's hum softened, almost calm, but Jaren felt no ease. The visions from the pool, the wardstone, the anchors they wove a truth he couldn't grasp. His blood, the great. Binding the relics, what was he carrying? Kale's words echoed. It found you. He glanced at her, her face set despite the pain in her step. She'd saved him, taken a blade for him. Scylla's grief, Callan's secrets, they were all bound to. Him now, as much as the disk. Scylla paused, her hand raised. Listen, she whispered. The wood was quiet, too quiet. No birds, no rustle of leaves, just a stillness that pressed against Jaren's ears. The disk's hum spiked, a sharp tug that made him wince. Callan's runes flickered. Something's close, not wraiths. Kale's voice was soft, her knife ready. Gran said the wood hides its worst for the end. Whatever's coming, it's been waiting. Jaren's hand found his knife, the disk burning against his chest. The trees parted, revealing a ruined archway, its stones cracked, but etched with symbols like the disk's. Beyond it, sunken courtyard lay, its flagstones choked with vines. At its center stood a pedestal, empty but carved with the same glowing runes. The disk's hum roared, a call Jaren felt in his bones. Callan's staff lowered, his voice low. A relic shrine. Where they sealed the disk sore, tried to Scylla's eyes narrowed, failed clearly. But that's no safe place. Jaren stepped forward, drawn by the disk's pull. It's not about safety, it's about answers. He reached the pedestal, the disk glowing bright, its symbols swirling. He touched it, and a jolt hit him images, sharp and fast. A circle. Of figures cloaked, chanting as they sealed a disk into stone. A scream, a flash of light, a crack in the earth. Jaren staggered, gasping, the disk heavy in his hand. Kale grabbed his arm, her eyes wide. What did you see? A ceiling, Jaren said, voice shaking. They tried to lock the disks away. Didn't work. Before Callan could speak, the air split a low hum, not the disks, but deeper, vibrating through the ground. Shadows moved, not from the trees, but from the courtyard's edges. Figures emerged cloaked, like the hunters, but different, there. Movements fluid, their eyes glowing faintly, like the wraiths but human.
Ah, 7 of them.
Their blades curved, their cloaks shimmering with runes. The bound, Callan hissed, his staff ready. Servants of the binding. They guard what was sealed. Scylla's dagger gleamed, her wound forgotten. They want his disc. Jaren's heart pounded, the disc's glow lighting the courtyard. Give me the relic, one bound said, his voice a rasp, like wind over stone. It belongs to the binding. Jaren raised his knife, the disc burning. It's mine. The bound attacked, their blades a blur. Callan's runes flared, his staff blocking a strike, sparks flying. Scylla dove at another, her dagger clashing, but the bound moved like shadows, untouched. Kale's knife slashed, keeping one at bay, but her wounded arms slowed her. Jaren ducked a blade, his knife grazing a bound's arm, drawing no blood only. A hiss like steam, the disc screamed, its light pulsing. Jaren acted on instinct, thrusting it toward the pedestal. The runes flared, a wave of light erupting. The bound recoiled, their forms flickering, but one lunged, blade aimed at Jaren's heart. Kale shouted, tackling him aside, the blade cutting her shoulder. She cried out, blood soaking her cloak. Jaren rolled, clutching the disc, and pressed it to the pedestal again. As the light exploded, brighter, the ground shaking. The bounds screamed, their forms unraveling, dissolving into the air. The courtyard stilled, the pedestal's runes dimming, the disc's hum fading to a whisper. Jaren helped Kale up, her face pale, blood dripping. You've got to stop saving me, he said, voice thick. Kale's smile was weak. Someone has. Two, Scylla clutched her side, her breath ragged. That was too close. The disc kit's drawing everything in this damn wood. Callan's runes dimmed, his face grimmed. The bound aren't gone. They're part of the binding, like the wraiths. You're waking the wood's heart, Jaren. Jaren's hand shook, the disc heavy. My blood, why me? Kale's voice was soft, her eyes on the pedestal. Gran said the relics choose those who can bear them or break them. Scylla snorted, wiping her dagger. Great choice. We're barely alive. Callan pointed to the path beyond the courtyard. Varen's half a day off. The scholars will know how to stop this or use it. His eyes met Jaren's. But you're running out of time. Jaren nodded, the disc's hum a faint pulse. The wood's shadows watched, its secrets heavier with every step. Kale leaned on him, her blood warm on his hand. Scylla and Callan flanked them, their weapons ready. The path to Varen was clear, but the disc's truth was not, and its weight pulled. Jaran deeper into a war he didn't understand. Dawn broke over the old wood, its light filtering through the canopy in thin, golden threads. Jaren's legs burned, each step heavier than the last. The discs hum a steady pulse against his chest. The courtyard's bound lingered in his mind, their eyeless glow, their blades like shadows. Kale leaned on him, her shoulder wound fresh, her face pale but stubborn. Scylla scouted ahead, her dagger flashing as she cut through vines, her own injury slowing her steps. Callan followed, his staff's runes dim, his eyes sharp despite the blood drying on his brow. The air was lighter now, the wood's grip loosening as Varen's spires rose in the distance, glinting through the trees. The disc's warmth urged Jaren forward, but its weight felt heavier, as if it carried the wood's secrets with it. The path widened into a proper road, packed dirt marked by old cart tracks. Varen was close ours, not days, but Jaren felt no relief. The disc's hum was soft, but restless, syncing with his heartbeat. Kale's weight against him was a reminder of her sacrifice, her blood soaking his sleeve. Scylla's grief, Callan's, half-truths, they were all tied to him now, bound by the relic's call. He gripped his knife, the blade worn but steady, and kept moving. Scylla paused, her hand raised. Voices, she whispered, crouching low.
Louder.
The road curved ahead and faint. Murmurs carried on the breeze rough, commanding not the wood's whispers. The disc's hum spiked, a warning Jaren felt in his bones. Callan's runes flickered. Not bound, not beasts, men. Kale's voice was faint, her knife trembling in her hand. Hunters again, or something new. Jaren's heart raced, the disc burning against his skin. He peered through the trees, spotting movement to camp. Small but organized, with tents and a fire.